This video brought to you by our Patreons. Please consider supporting this channel and joining our Patreons at patreon.com/NovaWing24. Hi there folks, my name's NovaWing24 and welcome to the NovaWrap, your one-stop location for your simulation release news and goings on from the week that was. So here we are on Sunday the 31st of May 2020 and we are going to jump straight into it this week with some releases for the X-Plane 11 world, starting with the team over at Orbix. So literally only what felt like hours, so I think it was maybe a day or so after announcing its impending arrival, they had the release of Fresno Yosemite International Airport. I've got it. Okay, it's terrible, but I do get a giggle out of the IKO for this one. The IKO for this one is K-Fat. It's just something about it. Something terrible, stereotypical American. Anyway, yes, I got a bit of a chuckle out of that. Moving right along and growing up a little bit here for a moment. So this comes to us for the X-Plane 11 world, and does not have a ESP equivalent from my understanding. So this is a highly detailed rendition of Fresno Yosemite Airport, which has its origins dating back to the 1950s as a dating back to the Second World War, so apologies, as a military airfield, and still to this day serves as the home of the 144th Fighter Wing of the California Air National Guard. Probably the biggest thing that Fresno is known for over the last few years is that it is the home of a lot of firefighting coordination teams. So a lot of firefighting aircraft do rotate through here for various operational deployments during the Californian fire season. So yes, this is a highly detailed rendition of the airport as it appears in 2020. We including highly detailed, so including all airport buildings modeled, highly detailed and texturing, so highly detailed 3D models with accurate texturing, including full support of PBR materials throughout the model. Full support for SAM jetways and marshallers as well. Custom night lighting have been included as well. Custom modeling of the interiors of the main terminal building has been included as well, and is of course designed for integration with the recently released True Earth Northern California as well. So I must admit, it does look pretty good, and I think, and I've got to admit that Orbix has really taken, since they've actually sort of embrace the X-Plane 11 world, they really have sort of gone full speed ahead with it, and I think this one has to look like it looks really, really good for me, and I think I need to spend more time in X-Plane, I think. So yeah, so this is looking really impressive. So if you wanted to pick this one up and add this one to your collection, this one is available for $22 US, or your regional equivalent, available now from Orbix Direct. Continuing on with X-Plane 11 releases, Runway 26 Simulations saw their latest release come out this week with their rendition of Guernsy airports. So Guernsy being one of the Channel Islands. I want to say, I feel like I was thinking about this. I thought there was another release of a Guernsy, but I realized it was actually released in Jersey not so long ago by another developer. So anyway, moving on. So this is there's not a great deal to say about this one. I don't have a lot of information from Runway 26 about this one, other than it's a highly detailed rendition of it. Apparently, no idea whether it's the current 2020 layout or a legacy one. Couldn't find any information either way. Otherwise, it looks like it has all the airport buildings, including high definition 3D models of each of them, including full support for HD ground textures for the airport, and full use of PBR materials throughout all the airport models as well. Supports AutoGate services and the AutoGate plugin. Also has full support for AI and ground traffic as well, with a variety of custom models supported for static aircraft and for local ground service equipment as well. As I said, not a lot about this one. The screenshots look quite impressive, but yeah, not a lot of information about this one, but it looks like it is just the airport and surrounding area. Now for this one's coming in, available now from SimMarket, coming in at $16 US, or your original equivalent, available now from SimMarket. Continuing on with airport releases and continuing on with European ones, the guys over at BC Sceneries released their latest, actually not just their latest, but they rebooted their previous release of Genova Airport in Italy. Now this is a major overhaul for them, and if you are a previous owner of it, you do get a hefty discount on this one if you are previous owner for this one. You get it for about you get a 50% discount for this one if you are a previous owner. But this scenery incorporates not just the airport of Cristoforo Colombo, it actually also includes the whole city of Genova as well, which is it's really great to see when developers go through and not produce just the airport but the surrounding areas as well. Now, not only have they focused on the fixed wing pilots, they've done a lot in here for rotary wing pilots as well. And there's been the city of Genoa has been mapped in ultra high definition, including custom curated photoreal imagery ranging from 30 centimeter up to 2 meter per pixel, up to 4 meter per pixel resolution imagery, including hand placed forests, and all major buildings have been put in, and plus ultra high definition 3D models of a lot of the city landmarks have been included, with hundreds of landmarks included, and over 16,000 buildings in total have actually been put into the area as well. Like, this is an insane amount of detail that's come into this one. Some of the highlights of some of the ones that have come through here is where they've included the full ancient port and sea museum, and a submarine that forms part of the sea museum has been modelled as well as the custom Lanterna lighthouse model has been included as well. Now, as I alluded to before, there's a lot in here for rotary wing pilots as well, because not only is the airport of LAMJ, including, which by the way is fully up to date with its layout, which is actually a bit odd actually, because I was about to say it's 2020 layout. It's actually not. It's actually a it's actually a future layout as it's going to appear in 2022. So it's actually a construction site. The airport's got a part of a construction site at the moment. So actually what the developers chosen to do, instead of modeling it as it is right now, they've actually chosen to, I don't want to say future-proof the design, but they've actually designed how the airport plans, how it actually intends to be laid out once the current developments are finished. That's an interesting approach for that one, which is kind of cool at the same time, but also kind of weird. Otherwise, all other airport buildings have been, all the airport buildings are modeled as how it looks in 2022. So all full high definition models being used throughout, including full support for PBR materials and 4K textures throughout the buildings and the ground textures. Full slew of static people have included, full support for world traffic, and accurate apron areas and moving ground services around the airport. As I was saying before about helicopter pilots, not only do you have helipads available at the airport, there is also modelled helipads in the city as well. So you've got plenty of things that you can go through in that low and slow and actually explore some of the great modelling for the city of Genova as well. So if you want to pick this one up, to your cart, you can pick this one up from the Explain.org store, coming in at $32 or original equivalent, available now. Continuing on with Explain 11 scenery releases, the guys over at Departure Designs came out with their latest release this week, with their release of their rendition of Oakland International Airport. No, again, not a lot of information about this one, but reading up a bit about the airport, apparently it's more of a cargo hub than a passenger hub, though there is some passenger services there as well. Primarily, it is a cargo hub. So this one is a accurate rendition of the airport as it appears for Q2 2020, so it's up to very, very recent satellite imagery. So custom hand-curated, color-graded satellite imagery for the area, including full support for Ortho XP as well. All buildings have been accurately modelled, including full support for PBR and 4K textures throughout, full support for SAM jetways and taxiway, and implemented a taxiway bridge as well. So highly detailed support for this one, including full support for custom SAM animated jetways and World Traffic 3 as well. So looking a pretty damn awesome tube liner and cargo flying destination for Explain 11, which will go great perhaps with the recent release of Air Hauler 2 for Explain 11. So this one's going to be coming in at $25 original equivalent, available now from explain.org. Moving out of the X-Plane 11 world and moving into the world of the ESP platforms, the guys over at RF Scenery Building saw their latest release this week with their release of their rendition of Frankfurt Hahn International Airport. So this airport is actually kind of interesting for me because I know Frankfurt, well, I know Frankfurt, Maine, having flown into there previously. And I honestly had never actually heard of Frankfurt Hahn Airport. And I did a bit of reading up on this one, and basically it's not even a Frankfurt airport. Like, why is it even called that? It's a bit like Melbourne Avalon, for those who may fly in Australian airspace. Like the Avalon Airport being called a Brisbane airport. Oh, sorry, Avalon Airport being called a Melbourne airport when it's like way out of town. Like it's closer to Geelong than it is closer to Melbourne. Or the fact that you've got Brisbane West Wellcamp that is nearly 2 hours from Brisbane. Like, and there's no high speed, there's no public transportation connections to Brisbane from there. Like, it's just nuts. Anyway, moving on. And funnily enough, there's also the home. So Frankfurt Hahn is the passenger service for this one are, funnily enough, low-cost carriers. So Ryanair, Wizz Air, and Sun Express. But again, like our previous release for the X-Plane 11 world, it is a lot of cargo carriers are home to this airport. So they provide a lot of services into here. Originally, its history is that it was originally built in the 1950s as a NATO airbase and served as the home of US Air Forces Europe for a considerable amount of time, but it's still actually used and visited by many military. Mil-Air cargo still comes through that airport still to this day. So this airport layout, as it appears during the start of 2020, including full accurate 3D modeling of all airport buildings, full implementation of 3D lighting effects, including dynamic lighting for Prepared 4 and 5, does support SODE content for various different objects. Although it includes only textures for the airport itself, includes updated land class for the surrounding area, updated road traffic as well, and full support for glass effect on buildings. No information on whether PBR is used or for the resolution of the textures. Looking at it, it looks like they're probably 2K textures, 2K or 4K textures, but I'm not sure about PBR from looking at the screenshots. So no information in the release information about that. So there you go. This one is compliant with the full gambit of ESP platform sims, F6 Steam, and Prepared in all its forms. Now this one is available now from Sim Market, coming in at $23 US, or the original equivalent, available now. That being the only ESP platform sim release actually for this week that I could find, funnily enough. So we're going to move on to flight simming of a title that we don't cover very often here on the NovaWrap, but it's got 2 releases this week for IL-2 Sturmovik. So this week we saw 2 variants of the Yak 9 get released and made available as their collector plane series. So the first one we saw was the Yak 9 Series 1, so the first incarnation of the Yak 9. Now this was a very interesting. It was one of the first, if not the first, it was one of the first mass-produced fixed-wing fighters to enter into Russian Air Force service during the Second World War, and would be produced in the order of over 16,000 of them would be produced before the war's end in various different models and formats over the time. So the initial Yak 9, the first one that we're looking at here is the basic Yak 9 series. Yak 9 first generation, which included twin 12.7mm machine guns in the wing roots, and also included a central 20mm cannon firing through the propeller arc. Firing through the center of the spinner. So this aircraft is a highly accurate rendition of it, including accurate 3D model, custom flight handlings, and a variety of liveries included. As the thing goes, I've got IL-2 Sturmovik, and I never actually spend enough time flying it. I really don't. But it includes where you can actually add a variety of different modifications to it, which actually do modify the weight and actually can give you performance gains and losses as well, including custom model night lighting, fixed loop of radio compass, you've got a reflector gun sight and a rear view mirror as well, all providing into the combat performance. The other version of this aircraft that was released was the Yak 9T, which was essentially I initially want to say sort of like it's an anti-tank variant. T does actually stand for tank, by the way. It is, but it's not an anti-tank variant. Essentially, it's a heavy air fighter one version, which replaces the 20mm cannon with a 37mm cannon. Like, the thing is giant. Funnily enough, because it had such a whopping great big cannon in the front now, they actually had to, for center of gravity, they actually had to move the cockpit back. They kept the airframe the same, but they had to move the cockpit back, which, in order to maintain the center of gravity, so you could actually fly the aircraft and make it relatively stable. However, the issue that you had was that this then restricted visibility for the aircraft while flying and actually made it a lot more challenging to actually fly and land, especially resulting in some various, a lot of landing incidents when they were coming in during their operational career. Again, comes through with a variety of liveries, comes through with custom tweaked performance as accurate to real life as they can get. I think includes a variety of modifications, again, as said before, with a variety of different weight and performance increases and benefits. Now, if you wanted to add these two aircraft to your collection, they can be picked up individually for $20. They're currently on a launch special of $15, each available now on Steam. Moving out of flight simulation and moving into the world of the permanent way, Trainz Simulator saw a couple of releases this week. The first one we saw was the SBB RABe 523 electric motive unit. So this was a German design series train designed to the family of flirt trains, which apparently does not mean what you may think it means. Apparently it means the fast, light, intercity and regional train, which I said it was a German design, which was originally designed for use on Swiss railways, but would actually go on to be served that were serving both German lines and other lines around the world. This particular rendition is the original rendition for Swiss train lines, and includes two cab cars with two middle cabs as well, with a variety of seating formats included as well. So this is a highly detailed rendition of the train in the SBB livery, including fully functional driving cab with driver-operated destination display system, windscreen wipers, wing mirrors, and a fully functional external and external brake indicators as well. This also includes 5 career scenarios for the Gotthardbahn Alpine Classic route, so you do need to have that route if you want to make use of the scenarios. Otherwise, fully compatible with Quick Drive and Steam Workshop scenarios as well. So this one's coming in normally at $20 from Rivet Games, but currently on a launch special for $17 or your regional equivalent, available now on Steam. In the other train simulator release for this week, we saw a livery pack release for the Baltimore and Ohio RF-16. So the famous iconic Baldwin Sharknose diesel locomotive, previously released for Train Simulator, comes to life with the Baltimore and Ohio Railways livery in their iconic grey and sort of grey, blue, and black livery. This is an interesting actually one, because although it's a livery pack, it appears to have a updated sound pack with this one as well. I'm just reading the press release for it, so I can't confirm it because I don't have it. But it's interesting that it specifies that it calls out that it has updated 608 diesel engine power plant stands, which is interesting. So not sure what to make of it. If you do have it, let me know if it does include updated sound set, because that's interesting that a livery pack does that. Also kind of cool. If you're wanting to pick this one up, and obviously you do obviously have to have the RF-16 Sharknose locomotive already installed in order to be able to make use of this add-on. And so if you do pick it up, looking at $5 or your regional equivalent, available now on Steam. Continuing on with the permanent way, but moving on to another train simulator. And this one, I'll be honest, I am very confused about. So this week from N3V Games, we saw the release of their QJ Steam Locomotive 4. And they released a dual release for Trainz A New Era and their updated version of their base sim Trainz 2019. And they've released, so I'll give the highlights of the train first. The train itself is a Chinese designed and built locomotive, which is one of the last successful coal-fired trains, and would serve both on Chinese railway lines, and would also serve in the US as well. Slightly modified, but still the same basic design. So they're often regarded as the most powerful steam locomotive ever operated in China, and one of the most powerful ones to ever operate in the United States as well. So it provides a challenging top-end operational experience, and with customized engine parts, lifelike appearance and detailed model, and full lifelike operations as well. Now, to get to the confusing part for this one, so as I said, this was released for both. This was released as separate content for Trainz A New Era and Trainz 2019. Each one is available for purchase at $25. Now, what the odd part is for me is that, again, as I've said this before with a couple of other releases, is that supposedly any content released for Trainz A New Era is supposed to be compatible with Trainz 2019. The other weird part that I'm seeing is I'm seeing some feedback from people who have purchased the Trainz 2019 edition, and it's appearing for them in their Trainz A New Era downloadable content, but not appearing for their Trainz 2019 content. Or it's appearing in both, but they can't, like, it's a bit weird. As I said, the content in the actual description, the 2019 edition appears to actually have some additional models and additional content included with it, but the comments and the feedback seems to be only about the Trainz A New Era edition, even though people are calling out that they specifically have purchased the 2019 edition. They're getting it in a new era as well. So N3V Games, not really sure what's going on here. Like, I'm a little confused about where this is supposed to be sitting. So I'll leave it up to you guys, for you guys. And if anybody who has purchased it on or N3V Games, if you can clarify this, please reach out, because I'm confused and so are your user base. Just saying. Either way, if you want to pick this one up and add it to your experience and want to take the risk, you're looking at $25 or original equivalent, available either directly from Steam or direct from N3V Games, available now. Moving out of the permanent way and moving onto the road for the release from TML Studios of their W906 for Fernbus Simulator. Now, for those who watch my news show regularly, you will think, well, isn't this looking very familiar? And yes, it is, because this was previously released for Tourist Bus Simulator. And what was interesting, and I do remember calling this out at the time, was the fact that at the time, it was only available for Tourist Bus Simulator, which is odd, because normally when TML Studios release content, they release it for both Tourist Bus Simulator and Fernbus Simulator simultaneously. And it was odd because at the time you could only drive it in Tourist Bus Simulator. For whatever reason, there was a delay in bringing it to Fernbus, but that delay has obviously now been, whatever had caused the delay has now been resolved and is now available for both. And again, if you had previously purchased it for Tourist Bus Simulator, you will have received now your complimentary copy of the one for Fernbus Simulator, and consequently, and reverse as well, if you now buy it for Fernbus Simulator, you will now receive a complimentary copy for Tourist Bus Simulator. So, great to see that the developer is still honoring that and still doing that release video. That's awesome. It really is. In terms of it, if you are new for this one, this is a 19-seater minibus with a 5-speed automatic transmission, able to drive up to 155 kilometers an hour if you disable the speed cap. Full interactive dashboard display with a variety of options on there. Full support for driver monitor, navigation, and reversing cameras. Wipers and door control, retarder and cruise control are fully modeled as well. Fully modeled with the driver's window and sunblind, air conditioning, and onboard Wi-Fi. So yeah, kind of cool, awesome. So this one's coming in standard price for this one at $8 or your original equivalent, available now on Steam. Moving away from the roads and moving on to the oceans and moving back in history for the latest DLC for Naval Action, with their release of their rendition of the HMS Victory 1765. So the HMS Victory, for those who are into their naval history, the HMS Victory is quite an iconic ship, and one that would actually serve with distinction in the Royal Navy for many, many years. Would actually be would be 50 years actually, I do believe, and is designed by the prolific Sir Thomas Slade, which has always been considered to be the greatest British naval architect of the century. So this rendition of HMS Victory is as she appeared when she was first launched in 1765, being one of the highly detailed rendition of the ship as she is as well. Along with this one is a what they call a premium consumer vessel, and cannot be captured by players or traded. You can request this once you purchase it. You can request this vessel from the Admiralty once a day, as long as you don't have the same vessel already in your dock. So this one is coming in at $60 US, or your original equivalent, available now on Steam. And rounding out the NovaWrap for this week, saw the release from independent developer Jujube, COVID the Outbreak. So very topical at the moment, this release. Now this is an interesting one, and again, we sort of looked at a very similar indie title a few months back. And this one's probably a bit more in depth and a bit more detailed. And to be quite honest, it reminds me a great deal of a board game, the Pandemic board game, actually, that I remember playing many, many years ago when it first came out. So essentially, this title and the developer Jujube actually sort of look their titles in more the edutainment space, where they take an idea and actually sort of want to teach to they seek to provide educational insights and teachings through gameplay. So essentially, in this sort of global sort of God's Eye View title, you would take on the role of the global health organization, and your task is to contain the spread of a coronavirus and save humanity by implementing a variety of different crisis management scenarios through pandemic management, through what you have to manage, sort of funding, research, staffing levels of health priorities. Declaring issuing emergency degrees through health emergencies, national emergencies, operations of borders, vaccinations, opening of schools, businesses, airports, things like that. Researching unpredictable events are thrown in there as well. So like also seeing how things like the spreading of fake news and stockpiling of supplies and people's just general ignorance and humanity's sort of ability to be stubborn, all that is modeled, and it's very interesting as well. So and then it also has like education links as well about what a coronavirus is, how they work, what to do if you personally become in contact with one and become affected, and why we have things like quarantine, why we ask people not to move and not to do things when they're infectious. Like it actually is a really interesting take on it, and as I said, the idea behind it of that edutainment, video games for learning, is something that's very important to me, because it's literally it's one of the fields that I work in. So I think it's a really interesting take on it for this one, and it's a very affordable price as well, coming in at $14 US for this title. So not too bad. So if you want to pick this one up and see how the world ends, or hopefully how you can help save the world, you can pick this one up, available now on Steam. Alrighty folks, with that does now round out the NovaWrap for this week. Just a couple of quick announcements before we go. Obviously I am, as I mentioned last week, I am back on my updated rig. My CPU has been replaced. So I'm almost finished most of my shakedowns tests that I will normally do when going through hardware replacement. As you would have noticed, content has started reappearing because a couple of reviews couple of reviews have been released. More are on the way. I'm hoping to return to our live streaming schedule as well this week. So tentatively, we are looking forward to coming back to that on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 19:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time, which is 09:30 Zulu. So keep an eye out for that. As I said, I'm planning on it. If things go pear-shaped, look out for notifications on Twitter or on Facebook, hopefully for that. Otherwise, join us over at mixer.com/NovaWing24. But otherwise, folks, as I said, that does now round out the NovaWrap for this week. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying these videos and want to see more. And of course, if you want to support the channel and all the things that we're up to, please consider supporting us either directly over at the NovaWing24 website or over on Patreon at patreon.com/NovaWing24. Alright folks, thanks very much for watching. Take care, safe skies to walls, keep washing your hands, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.